You ever have that moment where you're sitting on your couch scrolling Zillow like it's a hobby, and you see a house that's fine, not a mansion, not a dump, just fine, and the price is like $250,000, and your brain immediately does that thing where it goes, okay, if I had 250K, I'd be set. But then you zoom out and you realize 250K doesn't buy set. It buys a weird mix of freedom, stress relief, options, and depending on how you use it, maybe nothing at all. Because here's the thing, $250,000 can change your life, or barely change your month. And almost nobody explains the actual math of what it buys you in real life. So in this video, we're going to do the freedom math that people should be teaching using real numbers, realistic assumptions, and the psychology behind why we all overestimate what a big lump sum will do for us. My name is Zach, and I spend way too much time thinking about relevant financial topic. If you're someone who described the viewer's financial struggle, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. And look, if you're someone who feels like you're doing okay but still can't breathe financially, or you're saving but it feels like the finish line keeps moving, this is for you. Because I want to challenge a really common assumption right out of the gate. Most people think freedom is a number, like once I hit 100K, or once I hit 250K, or once I hit a million. But freedom is not a number. Freedom is what that number can reliably do for your monthly life without you having to keep grinding. And $250,000 is the perfect amount to talk about because it's big enough to feel life-changing, but small enough that you can still blow it very easily. This is where it gets really interesting. Why $250,000 feels like I made it, but isn't. Let's talk psychology for a second. Humans do this thing called mental accounting. We put money into buckets in our minds. A lump sum feels different than earned income. It feels like a pile you can lean on, like a safety net. And we also do something called anchoring. We anchor on the biggest number in the room. So if you've never had more than $6,000 in a checking account, then $250,000 feels like infinite money. But inflation and modern life have quietly made 250K less magical than our brains want it to be. Eye-opening stat. According to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, the median American family has a net worth around the low six figures, but the median liquid savings is dramatically smaller. Translation. Most people aren't sitting on cash. They're sitting on stuff and debt. Also, according to Bankrate and Federal Reserve reporting, a large share of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing or cutting necessities. So when we imagine 250K, we're not imagining $250,000. We're imagining no more emergencies, no more panic, no more I hope my car starts. No more, what if I get laid off? That emotional relief is real, but the question is, what does $250,000 actually buy? Let's do the real math. The only question that matters, how much monthly freedom does this buy? Here's what most people don't realize. Freedom is measured in months, not dollars. So instead of thinking 250K is a lot, we should ask, how many months of my life does 250K pay for? Let's define your baseline cost of living. I'm going to use 3 realistic monthly lifestyles. 1 lean $3,000 month, rent, car, basics, no luxury. 2 normal-ish, $5,000 month, typical household spending in many areas. 3 comfortable, $7,500 month. Kids, nicer housing, travel, higher insurance, etc. Now, if you did the most basic thing possible, no investing, no returns, you just live off the money. Here's what 250K buys. Scenario. A, no investing, just spending it. At $3,000 a month, $250,000 divided by $3,000 on 83 months, just is 6.9 years. At $5,000 a month, $250,000 divided by $5,000, restava goes 50 months on 4.2 years. At $7,500 a month, $250,000 divided by $7,500, 33 months, times 2.8 years. So right away, if you're thinking 250K is retire forever money, no, it's take a multi-year break money. And honestly, that can still be powerful, but that's not financial freedom. That's a runway. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Zach, but I'd invest it. Yes, good. Let's talk about what investing does and what it does not do. The 4% rule, the most misunderstood freedom idea. On the internet, people love throwing around the 4% rule, which comes from the Trinity study and other retirement research. The idea that you can withdraw about 4% of a portfolio annually, adjusted over time, and historically you had a good chance of not running out over a 30-year retirement. But here's the thing, the 4% rule is not a guarantee. It's a historical guideline based on certain market conditions, time horizons, and asset allocations. Still, it's a helpful starting point. So if you have $250,000 invested, 4% per year buys around $10,000 year. That's about 833 month. Let that land. 250K buys about 833 a month of forever income under the classic 4% framework. This is where it gets really interesting because 833 a month is simultaneously not enough to quit your job, absolutely enough to change your life. It might cover groceries for a family, a car payment, plus insurance utilities, part of rent daycare, 1 or 2 days a week, the minimum payment burden that's crushing you. And psychologically, that's massive because freedom isn't always never work again. Often it's I can leave a toxic job. I can downshift to a lower paying career I actually like. I can stop panicking every time my boss pings me. I can take time off without spiraling. 833 a month is options money, but people miss that because they're looking for the movie version of wealth. What $250,000 buys you if you use it the smart way, not the sexy way? Let's walk through the real categories of freedom 250K can buy. 1, it can buy you time. Time is the raw material of freedom. If you have a fully funded emergency fund plus a runway, you don't make desperate decisions. And desperation is expensive. You take bad jobs, you keep bad jobs, you finance things you shouldn't. You pay convenience fees everywhere because you're tired. So the first freedom purchase isn't a Tesla, it's margin. A realistic setup might be $30,000 in a high-yield savings account, about 6 months of expenses for many households, $220,000 invested. Now you've bought yourself. No panic, fewer forced decisions, better negotiating power. It can buy you lower monthly obligations. This is the most underrated because your freedom is constrained by fixed costs. Debt payments, car loans, subscriptions, high rent, high insurance, high lifestyle. So instead of asking, what can I buy? Ask, what can I delete? If you wipe out, say, $40,000 of high interest debt, credit cards at 20% plus, you're not losing money. You're buying a guaranteed return. Math example, if you have $40,000 at 22% APR, interest alone is roughly $40,000 times 0.22, VAR $8,800 here. That's $733 a month in interest pressure. Paying it off is like earning a risk-free 22% return. That's insane. And if you then invest the remaining $210,000 4% rule income, wow, $8,400 year, $700 a month. So now your freedom math becomes $733 a month, no longer going to debt interest, $700 a month portfolio support. That's $1,000 toward $33 a month of breathing room created. Not glamorous, extremely powerful. 3, it can buy you career freedom. Imagine you hate your job, but it pays well. You feel trapped. If 250K creates even 1,000 a month of support, you might be able to switch careers, go back to school. Part-time, start a small business without immediate profitability, reduce hours, take a pay cut for sanity. This is where the psychology kicks in. When people feel trapped, they cope by spending. Little treats, convenient spending. Retail therapy, DoorDash, because they're exhausted. And then they spend their way into deeper trapping. It's a loop. Freedom money breaks the loop. The most dangerous way to use $250,000 and why people do it. Let's talk about the classic mistake. Lifestyle upgrading. You get 250K inheritance, business sale, bonus, whatever, and you buy a nicer car, a nicer apartment, nicer vacations, expensive furniture, just a few upgrades. And suddenly the money didn't buy freedom. It bought you a new level of fixed monthly costs. Here's what most people don't realize. The real enemy isn't spending, it's recurring spending. A one-time purchase hurts once, a new car payment hurts every month and changes your entire financial trajectory. Math example, let's say you use 250K as a down payment upgrade and take on 900 month car payment, 400 month higher insurance, plus gas 700 month higher housing cost, 200 month subscriptions and lifestyle creep. That's 2200 a month of new burn rate. That's not I made it. That's I. I need this job forever. And psychologically, this happens because of social comparison. You want your life to look like your peers. Hedonic adaptation. The upgrade becomes normal faster than you think. Identity spending. You buy the version of yourself you want to be seen as. And look, I'm slightly frustrated about this because it's so common. People get their first real pile of money, and instead of buying options, they buy obligations. The freedom ladder. What 250K unlocks at each level. Let's build a simple ladder because I want you to be able to use this. Goal, remove panic. Use 250K to pay off high-interest debt, build a 12-month emergency fund, stabilize housing, transportation. Result, your financial life becomes predictable. Goal, reduce fixed costs. Actions, refinance or pay down debt, strategically downshift housing if it's crushing you. Eliminate recurring subscriptions. Choose a reliable car, not a flex car. Result, your monthly number drops. And when your monthly number drops, 250K buys more months. Goal, create flexibility. Actions, invest a large portion, build a career pivot fund, tuition, certifications, time to job hunt. Create buffer to take risks. Result, you can say no. Saying no is one of the most expensive skills on earth. Goal, cover part of your monthly expenses with investments. At 250K, house I'm at 833 month forever income, 4% rule. At 500K, 1,007 month at 1 mer. Thras 333 month. No, so 250K is not the finish line. It's the first checkpoint where the math starts mattering. Real story. Two people, same $250,000. Completely different lives. Let me tell you a quick story. Person A gets 250K. They feel behind. They feel like they deserve nice things. They've struggled. So they upgrade car, 60K, put 20K into furniture, tech, clothes, take 2 big trips, 20K, help family and do random spending. 30K, keep the rest in checking, because investing feels scary. Within 18 months, the money is mostly gone, but their monthly bills are higher. And now they're back to working, except worse because they had a taste of relief. Person B gets 250K. They do something boring. 30K emergency fund, 50K, pays off high-interest debt and car loan, 170K invested in low-cost index funds. Now, they didn't buy a flashy life, but they bought reduced stress, lower monthly payments, an investment base that can grow for decades. 10 years later, person B might have significantly more than 250K and a much easier monthly life. Same money, different identity, different habits, different outcome. Here's the core idea. Your lifestyle cost is a multiplier on your freedom. If your monthly expenses are $3,000, you need far less money to feel free than someone spending $8,000. And here's the nobody explains part. If you can reduce your spending by $500 a month, it's like creating the equivalent of 500 a month times $12, $6,000 a year. Using the 4% rule to generate $6,000 a year you'd need. $6,000 divided by 0.04, swirty $150,000 invested. So cutting $500 a month is mathematically similar to having an extra 150K portfolio. That is not motivational poster math. That's real. This is where it gets really interesting, because suddenly, budgeting isn't punishment. It's literally wealth creation. Not because you're depriving yourself, because you're lowering the price tag of freedom. Actionable plan, how to use $250,000 like a freedom weapon. If you had 250K, here's a clean, practical framework. Write down your bare minimum monthly expenses, survival. Your comfortable monthly expenses, sustainable. Your ideal monthly expenses, dream. You need those numbers or you're just guessing. If you have credit cards at 29% APR, that's a fire. Put the fire out Not $1,000, not I can borrow from my parents. A real one. 6 months, minimum 12 months if your income is unstable. Keep it in a high-yield savings account or money market fund. Low-cost index funds. Broad diversification, automate it. Stop trying to be a hero. And for the love of everything, stop thinking investing is supposed to be exciting. Exciting investing is usually expensive investing. Step 5. Use the income relief to buy back your time. This is the part people skip. If the money reduces your stress, you can negotiate salary better job, hunt longer for a better fit build skills. Take care of health. Stop making desperate purchases. Freedom compounds. But 250K isn't enough in today's economy. You're right that it's not retire at 30 money, but it's enough to eliminate panic, eliminate bad debt, create options, partially fund your life forever. And if you combine it with lower spending, it gets powerful fast. But what if the market crashes? Good question. That's why you keep cash reserves, emergency fund. You don't invest money you need next year. You diversify. You don't time the market. Also, historically, markets have recovered from crashes. Sometimes painfully, sometimes slowly, but the bigger risk for most people is not volatility. It's never investing at all. I want to enjoy life too. Yes, you should. But enjoying life shouldn't mean creating recurring bills that force you to work forever. Spend on things that create lasting happiness, experiences you truly value, relationships, health education time, not things that make you look rich. Look, $250,000 is not a magic wand, but it is absolutely a turning point amount of money. It's the amount where you can either buy a prettier cage or buy the key. And the key isn't a Lamborghini. It's not a bigger house you can barely afford. It's not proving something to people who don't pay your bills. The key is lowering your burn rate, investing the difference, and using the money to buy time, options, and peace. So here's your challenge. Tonight, write down your monthly number, the one that actually runs your life. Then ask yourself, if I had $250,000, would I buy freedom or would I buy more bills? Drop your monthly expense number in the comments. Roughly no need to get personal. And I'll do the freedom math with you.